Madison Avenue is embracing artificial intelligence, with nearly 90% of top advertisers now using AI to create commercials. In India, women athletes are pushing for their fair share of a booming $130 billion sports market, using social media to win sponsors and visibility. Back home, vegetable prices have spiked 38% in the United States, with critics linking Trump's deportation crackdown to labor shortages in the fields. In France, President Emmanuel Macron says he has no choice but to sue Candace Owens for spreading false claims about his wife. And Donald Trump is calling himself, quote, a war hero for ordering bombings in Iran, while Democratic gaffes echo for years. His far harsher remarks are shrugged off by the right. All that and more today. We have a lot of fun in store for you. Welcome to Filtered with TJ Walker. Okay, let's dive right into story one. Artificial intelligence has now taken the center stage in the world of advertising. According to the New York Times, nearly 90% of marketers who spent more than $1 million on digital video ads last year are using or plan to use generative AI to make commercials. Coca-Cola made headlines last year with a holiday spot created entirely by artificial intelligence. What was once novel is becoming routine. David Cohen, CEO of the Interactive Advertising Bureau, said, quote, "The number of different elements that one can change in a piece of creative are almost endless. It needs a technological assist." For small companies, the appeal is cost savings. British broadcaster ITV reported that ads that would normally take weeks and large budgets are now produced in hours at a fraction of the cost. Still, ethical concerns remain. As Cohen cautioned, consumers may underreact to just how deeply this technology will reshape advertising. Okay, so what's the real message here? If you're in the advertising industry, wake up. You had better become a master at using artificial intelligence. If not, you're going to be run over. You're going to be roadkill. These purists who say, oh, it's all about my creative vision and me drawing, and I don't even use computers, you are going to be sent to the glue factory. Okay, let's dig a little deeper here, folks. AI, as we hear in all media and on this show every day, is touching every single aspect of society. Is some of it hype? Absolutely. Are there going to be thousands of AI-funded companies, venture-backed companies that are going to go poof? Yes, same as there was with the internet, same as there was with car companies 100 years ago, with TV and radio stations and networks. Most of them, poof. That's the history of all major innovative technologies. But does that mean this thing isn't real, isn't dramatic, isn't going to have a huge, huge impact on the world? No, it does not mean that at all. What does it mean for you? You may say, well, TJ, I'm a sports physical therapist. I'm working in the real world with real people all the time. Okay, but even your field can be affected by it. What if every customer, every patient of yours comes in and they say, okay, you taught me how to exercise that back, but I now want you to send me a video of my own face demonstrating what I did so I can watch it every day. What are you going to do if you say, well, I don't know, I'm not a techie, but the sports therapist down the hall can do that? This is affecting every single industry imaginable. And the sooner you get ready for it, the sooner I get ready for it, the better. I'm trying to up my own game. I mean, you see these graphics right here. Yeah, it's text. It doesn't have images. I'm hoping by tomorrow to figure out how I can use AI more effectively right here on my own show, Filtered with TJ Walker. I got to up my game, or I'm not going to bring you back, because my competitors online are certainly going to do that. So we all have to up our game. It affects every single industry. Terminator 4 writes, "This is not good, TBH." Okay, I get it if my job is to be a director of commercials, and I've directed TV and radio commercials before for advertisers. So I've been in that field. I get it. It's not good when it's your own industry, when it's your own job. Why is it not good for society? And I'm going to use an example that I perhaps overuse on this show. But in 1960, there were 400,000 people, mostly women, employed by AT&T to do this. Put one cord in here, another cord there to make a phone call work. And if you wanted to call somebody who lived more than about 10 miles away from you, good luck with that. You had to write a check for $200 to make that phone call. And then technology made it so you didn't have to have those people doing this and this. All those people found jobs elsewhere for the most part. I don't see how you can honestly, logically, if you want to be intellectually consistent, say we can't use AI for making TV commercials, but it's perfectly okay to use technology to get rid of telephone operators. It's completely inconsistent. So I would ask you, Terminator, do you want to go back to the days of paying $80 to make a long distance phone call? I know I don't. I mean, I'm old enough to remember if you got a long distance phone call from a relative from another city, it either meant really, really good news, someone's having a baby or getting married, or somebody just died, or bad news. I mean, it made your heart stop for a second. I don't want to go back to those days. And that's the problem. Anytime you point to one piece of technology saying, oh, it's going to hurt this job, it sets up this whole series of intellectually inconsistent choices where you got to go back to, okay, do we get rid of the telephone operator or do we bring back the telephone operator? Okay, if that's the case, why don't we bring back the stagecoach operators and get rid of automobiles? Automobiles put a lot of businesses out of business. Stagecoach operators, a gigantic industry breeding horses because that's what you needed to get from point A to point B. Do we really want to bring all the horses back and the manure on the streets to save jobs? And obviously, in hindsight, you could say, well, the automotive industry created a much bigger industry than anything the horse industry ever did. That's the thing about technology, is you never know where it's going to take it. Traditionally, technologies may put some people out of work, but they create a bigger economic pie. They create more jobs. And in fact, today, our society has more technology coursing through its veins in every sector than ever before. And we're at basically full employment. However, big caveat, many AI experts, prognosticators say it's happened before with technology. With AI is different. And AI really could get to the point where it makes most, if not all, human labor obsolete. Is this use of AI to make ads a part of that? Could be a piece of the puzzle. Is that single-handedly going to do it? I don't think so. Let's take a look at some of the stats in this story again. 90% of major marketers are planning to use AI ads. Coca-Cola did its first full AI ad back in 2024, and it did get some attention. We're not that far away from it getting to the point where if you don't use AI in an ad, that's going to get attention. It's just so much faster, easier, more efficient. I remember way back when I was in college, we're talking more than 40 years ago, my professor assigned to me a book called 30 Seconds. And it was a book about an entire year spent making one 30-second AT&T commercial. Well, this is back in the early 80s, before AT&T was broken up. They had a monopoly. They had more money than they knew what to do with. So yeah, you could spend millions and millions and millions of dollars and hundreds of thousands of man and woman hours sitting around in meetings and finessing things and focus grouping ads, all of that to come up with one commercial. Nobody has the time, luxury, or resources to do that anymore. The Interactive Advertising Bureau points out that AI makes it possible for endless creative changes. You can adapt it, you can fine tune it. You can tweak it every single day if you want to. Shuttle Rock used AI voiceovers, imagery, background in ads. And ITV, a network in Great Britain, is helping small businesses create ads in 10 hours rather than 10 weeks, which is more the norm in the past. Kind of makes me wonder, why do they even need 10 hours for? I've used AI, my team has used AI for some of the ads you'll see here, quite often in just a few minutes. So where does this take it? What does this really mean for you? This is a theme I've talked about before in the show, and I'll talk about it again. You're not going to be replaced by AI in the short run, but you are going to be replaced. Your job is going to be replaced by someone else who knows how to use AI more effectively than you do. That's nothing original that I'm saying. Ray Kurzweil, numerous other tech luminaries have pointed that out. Again, at some point in the future, whether it's 5 years, 50 years, or 500 years, virtually every job will be made extinct because of AI. But in the short run, there's so many opportunities out there. I urge you, don't be a naysayer, just, oh, this is awful, this is bad, boo, hoo, hoo. See it as an opportunity. Dive, experiment. If you're not experimenting with AI every day, you're going to be left behind. In fact, I think if you're not using the AI research mode every day on some big question that affects you, your industry, your profession, you're going to be left behind. I know that I increasingly do that. Now, I have the ChatGPT Pro version. It's only $20 a month. I'm not sure what the various free versions have, but every day, the various AI programs out there, whether you like Grok or Gemini or any others, they're getting better, and they are allowing you the ability to do deep research, to do things that normally you would have to have tens of thousands of dollars and management consultants and researchers and writers do. And now you can do it for pennies sometimes for free. Someone else is paying the energy bill. So please, I urge you, take advantage of it. Speaking of AI ads, I'm going to show you some right now of my own where AI was a part of it. Filtered is brought to you by the following. You don't need a new degree. You don't need another expensive coach. You need the right communication habits, and I'll teach them to you in just a few minutes a day. At MediaTrainingWorldwide.com, I've created the most comprehensive library of online communication and personal development courses anywhere. You'll learn public speaking, media training, persuasion, executive presence, and more. These are the same methods I've taught to world leaders, but now they're affordable and accessible to everyone. You can start for free and upgrade anytime. Go now to MediaTrainingWorldwide.com. Confidence isn't a personality trait, it's a skill, and it's trainable. Most people can't afford a full-time coach, and even if you could, good luck finding one who's available when you need them. That's why I created the TJ Walker AI clone. It's built on my 40-plus years of real-world coaching and training. You get my exact advice, style, and frameworks instantly. Ask it how to handle a tough question, get feedback on your elevator pitch, rehearse your next big talk. This is the next generation of communication coaching. It's smarter than an app, more personal than a course, and always ready. Start using it today at tjwalker.ai. You'll wonder how you ever did without it. Want to become a better speaker, leader, or communicator? Start with the TJ Walker Success Library. It's 5 of my most practical books, covering everything from public speaking to media interviews and persuasive messaging, all for only $9.95. I've trained presidents and Fortune 500 CEOs, and now you can get the same wisdom in a fast, affordable format. Go to tjwalker.com/books and download your copies instantly. All right, welcome back. We are diving right into story 2 today. Thank you so much for joining me. If this is your first time, this is Filtered with TJ Walker. This is the show where we look at the top business stories, technology stories, and culture stories filtered through the lens of communication and personal development skills, all with the goal of improving you, helping you more successful in every aspect of your life, your professional life, as well as your personal life. That's what we're all about. Let's dive into story 2. India's $130 billion sports market is booming, but women athletes say they are still fighting for their fair share. According to the Times, dozens of female athletes gathered in Mumbai this week at the Sports Women Huddle, where stars like Sania Mirza and PV Sindhu joined industry leaders to strategize on building visibility and sponsorships. One theme stood out: social media is becoming a lifeline. Influencer Anchal Agrawal told the crowd, "Get the coin, girl," urging athletes to build online followings for financial independence, since careers can be short. Cricket remains the country's most lucrative sport, with the India Premier League valued at more than $10 billion. But the new Women's Premier League, backed by $500 million in franchise sales, is already drawing large crowds and creating opportunities for girls across India. As one executive put it, the potential is there. What holds us back isn't talent, it's the barriers that start early. Okay. So what's the real message here? This is a golden opportunity. If you are a woman and an athlete in India or any place else in the world, doors are opening. Is it equal to what men are getting? No, but there's a lot of riches there if you are aggressively marketing yourself in social media. There's influencer deals, ad deals, sponsorships. There are ways of monetizing the fact that a lot of eyeballs are on you. So don't blow it. Okay, let's dig a little deeper here. Why do I get so excited about this? Because I'm old enough to remember my own sisters, who were only a couple of years older, didn't even have the ability to do sports in elementary school, junior high school. It just wasn't a thing, even in the United States, which likes to think of itself as so advanced in women's rights and equality. And now we're seeing in other countries on the other side of the world, and we're so happy to have so many Indian viewers and members of this community. We're seeing in places like India, where not equality yet, but it's a lot closer, where women athletes are getting the attention they justly deserve. Here in the United States, the women's college basketball, women's professional basketball is finally getting a lot of attention. Are their stars getting the equal pay of LeBron James and what Michael Jordan got? No, but they're making a lot more money than they used to. I'm seeing it just in my local pickleball courts here in South Florida, where there are a number of professional pickleball players. And some of them are telling me about, they're getting a salary from the Professional Pickleball Association. They get prize winnings. They get sponsorships for their social media. And they're getting brand deals with rackets and things. You put it all together, and they're making very nice six-figure salaries. I don't know what everyone is making in India, the top players, but certainly it's a huge, huge market, obviously. Largest English-speaking market in the world, largest democracy in the world. And if you're in a sport that people want to watch, you deserve to get some of that money. It's long been a contention of mine that what happens in the United States with college sports is an atrocity. You've got college coaches making sometimes $10, $12, $15 million a year. And you have star athletes, the ones everyone actually watches and are tuning into the shows to watch, who have millions and millions and millions of people watching them, but they're not quite good enough to make it to the pros, and they get nothing in the past. Or they were primed for a great professional career, and the last game of their college career, when they're a so-called amateur, they get an injury, and then they are working on the back of a truck the rest of their life, living on welfare. It's not fair. So that has been corrected in the United States, not to everyone's liking, but college athletes now have the ability to monetize their likeness, their image, their social media accounts. I'm very happy to see this spreading throughout the world to not just men, but women as well. And this sign in India, I think is fascinating. Let's give a few more stats here. The Indian sports market is set to hit $130 billion by 2030. Sports fandom, 655 million fans nationwide in India. Women still earn less than men despite rising viewership. And the key is the sponsorship and how it gives them independence. Recently, the Women's Premier League franchises sold for $500,000. The highest paid female cricketer made $415,000 in 2023, which is, by the standards of professional athletes here in the United States, some of them with $250 million multi-year contracts, it sounds like pocket change, but compared to the average income in India, that is the superstar wealth. Certainly not just the top 1%, but the top 0.1%. Sanya Mirza says women face double standards in branding. I think that's true across the world. And the good thing is the barriers are following. Yes, there are still barriers. Now, I say this as someone who had, I won't say zero, but I had close to zero athletic talent as a kid. I was a kid who matured early, and I was about the size I am now when I was 12 years old. So because I was, and I'm 5'11 and a half. So the fact that I was basically a foot taller than everyone else through most of my childhood and into high school made it easier for me to be better than average in most sports, my assessment. But by the standards of being a professional athlete or a college athlete, or even being able to get on a high school team where there's 2,000 kids, I did not have the talent. So I don't talk about any of this from the perspective that I was some great athlete and was able to monetize it. But there's absolutely no doubt that this is a golden age for athletes around the world. And why is that? It's because human beings love sport. They love watching it. We live in an attention economy. That's been said over and over again, not original to me, but where attention flows, money flows. So if you are a 23-year-old or a 20-year-old, or for that matter, a 14-year-old, and you're good at a particular sport and people want to watch you, this is great. You got to change the attitude of this is my way to get a free college tuition and really think about maybe this is my time to establish financial security for the rest of my life if handled properly. Now, let's point out a troubling statistic. I've seen statistics from 2/3 to certainly more than a half of professional football players being bankrupt within 5 years of retirement. So you can make almost any amount of money. You can be Mike Tyson and make $500 million and still file bankruptcy. How much money you make and how much you keep and your long-term net wealth are not necessarily correlated. But all things being equal, I would sure love to be a young person who has somehow figured out a way to bankroll, if not 10 million, not a million, even the first 100,000. If you could somehow get 100,000 because of some claim to fame in the sports world, through social media, through influencer deals, and just put it in an index fund and don't think about it or touch it till you're 65 years old, you would be a multimillionaire so many times over, it would make your head spin. You would have extraordinary wealth. You'd have generational wealth if you just put $100,000 in a broad-based, low-cost index fund and don't touch it. And there are a lot of people who do have the ability to do this. The problem, of course, is human nature, where we got the money, let's spend it. It's fun to spend money. It's not fun to save money. It's very hard to go to a cocktail party when other people are saying, hey, look at this new Maserati I bought. Look at this new Ferrari. Look at this new Gucci bag. And you're saying, oh, look at my bank balance. You can't really do that. It would be too weird. But that is what can create long-term wealth for you. So here's the real message I have and why I wanted to talk to you about this. We can't all be star athletes. I certainly wasn't. But we do live in a world now where you can become the best at something, and being the best at something can attract eyeballs. And when you attract a lot of eyeballs, you can attract wealth. And maybe it doesn't last that long. Maybe you don't have a very good batting average. I put myself out there. Is some people say, "Oh, TJ, that's fantastic. You have 24 internationally best-selling online courses. You have 12 million student enrollments. That must be great. Congratulations." Thank you. But everyone forgets the fact that, yeah, out of my 24 best-selling courses, I have 200 courses that have performed miserably, that were basically failures. I've succeeded because of simply taking more at-bats. And I hope that metaphor works in cricket as well for our Indian friends watching this. So whatever it is you do, whether you are playing cricket, whether you're playing soccer, whatever it is you're doing, remember, in the world of business, the world of finance, it only takes one win to overcome every other loss, every other failure, as long as you don't take all the winnings from that one win and gamble it away or fritter it away. It only takes one victory. And if you simply don't spend it and you invest it in something that's relatively low risk, that has compounding effects, you can be set financially for life. Now, I didn't really have any real success until my 40s and arguably even early 50s before I had a lot of financial success because of my creations. But there simply was nothing like social media when I was a kid and when I was in college. There wasn't the ability. You had to go through all these gatekeepers, and I had to fight and claw my way in to work for free at a radio station in Miami that was 1,000 watts and had maybe 2 listeners. I had to beg to do the overnight shift, midnight to 3 a.m., 35 years ago, just to get experience. Forget trying to make any money. I was hoping to just not lose money by having to buy time to get on the air. Thankfully, those days are over. Everyone has their own TV studio available to them. It's right here on every social media platform. Everyone has their own international radio broadcasting network available to them. It's called right here, your ability to create a podcast. So whether you're a professional athlete or not, or a college athlete or not, hop on it. It's opportunity, and realize it might not last. I may make another 250 online courses and maybe none of them sell. My magic didn't lie. Guess what? It won't matter because I've saved enough, and that's invested, and I'm getting compounding on a daily basis, really. And that's what I want for you. I want you to have economic security. I want these women who have worked so hard to become the tops of their field. In this case, cricket in India. I want them to make money, good money, and I want them to achieve financial wealth, but I want it for you too. So even if you don't have great sporting talent, certainly I don't, realize doesn't mean you can't have one big win, invest it properly, and then you can be a lot more selective in how you spend your professional creative time. More in a moment. Hey, if you're enjoying this kind of take and want to hear more stories filtered through the lens of communication, make sure you're following the show, whether you're watching or listening. New episodes drop every single day. And if there's a little notification option where you are now, go ahead and turn it on. It helps you stay in the loop. Vegetable prices just jumped 38% in July, the sharpest month-to-month spike of any product. This is according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. Economists cite tariffs and supply chain issues, but farm owners say labor shortages tied to the Trump administration's deportation crackdown may be the biggest factor. In the United States, more than 70% of hired farm workers are immigrants. And fewer than 1% of vegetable harvesters are native-born white Americans. Let me say that again. Fewer than 1% of vegetable harvesters, people who work on farms and pick vegetables in the United States, are native-born Americans, white Americans. When those immigrant workers are deported or leave out of fear, crops go unpicked and prices go up. Santa Barbara grocer Jamie DeSalas explains, quote, a lot of the product is being lost because there's nobody to work. So the product that has been picked has been raised maybe 35 to 40%. Some markets like Tri-County Produce avoid major price hikes by sourcing 75% locally, but eggplant still cost 50% more than just 3 months ago, a trend that could spread if labor shortages deepen. Okay, what's the real message here? If you absolutely had to vote against the other guys and you voted for this guy because he's going to bring prices down and kick all the immigrants out of the country, well, guess what? Now you're getting what you deserve. Vegetable prices are going up 38%. That is a huge hit in the pocketbook. Maybe you don't eat vegetables. The great orange one doesn't look like he does. But soon those price increases are coming for whatever you eat. Because let's be honest, you don't want to pick the vegetables, fruit, or anything else. I don't either. Okay, let's dig a little deeper here. Many economists thought these inflation spikes would happen sooner. I made no predictions, and I'm not an economist. But at some point, your stories have to have a coherency. To say that prices are way too high and that we have to get rid of the people willing to work for low wages, therefore we're going to hire more real Americans to do it at fair wages, there's no possible way that can happen without prices going up. Doesn't matter if you're a liberal economist, a conservative economist, a libertarian economist, it just does not add up any other way. If you reduce the labor pool, which is what happens when you kick out thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of immigrants, and some leave out of fear of being terrorized or putting in alligator Alcatraz, then farmers have to pay more to find more employees. Farmers are not, other than the wealthiest agribusinesses that are multi-billion-dollar conglomerates, most farmers are not making a fortune. They have to pass along that cost to you and to me. So if you voted for the guy who says, I'm going to kick out the immigrants, and you're upset about inflation last year, well, you're getting what you deserve right now. I'm sorry if that sounds harsh, but it is true. Now, I specifically, sorry to get racial here, but I did feel important to point out fewer than 1% of people who pick vegetables in America are like me, a native-born American guy. Do I want to have that job? Am I saying, wow, thank goodness the Mexicans who didn't have citizenship and the Venezuelans were kicked out of this country? I can now go out in the field in 120-degree heat, sweat, burn my pasty white skin off the bones, and make $20 a day or whatever migrant farmers make. No, I'm not, and neither are you. The reality is, if you are an American voter and you have citizenship and your kids are here, chances, and your kids are going through even a moderately competent public education system, you do not aspire to have your children picking fruit or vegetables or picking cotton or picking anything. I'm not saying that's a good thing that perhaps I'm a snob or you're a snob, but that's just the way the world works. And if you take away the people who are trying to claw their way onto the first rungs of capitalism and willing to make real sacrifices, there is simply no choice other than to let the vegetables fall in the field and rot, so the remaining ones are scarcer and their prices have to go up, or you have to start paying much, much higher wages. Let's look at the stats. Eggplant jumped 50% in 3 months. You may say, well, I don't like eggplant. Well, guess what? They came for your eggplant. You didn't say anything because you don't like eggplant. They came for your Brussels sprouts and raised the prices, and you don't eat Brussels sprouts. You don't care about that. But then they came for your potatoes. And you know what? You love French fries. And now your French fries cost 5 times more than they used to. And there's no one else to complain to because everything else has gone up. I think you're going to find yourself in that situation. So I'm going to be monitoring this. At some point, there's a political price to pay. Now, the current administration is essentially trying to prepare for this by firing the honest career folks who work at the Department of Labor and Statistics who give us honest facts about this. I certainly, and I will go, I don't make a lot of predictions on this show, but I will go ahead and make one prediction. That certainly within the next year, the henchmen appointed by this administration are going to start saying things like, inflation is now 0. It won't be, but they'll just say it. We're going to see spokespersons for this administration putting out the message that unemployment is now 0. It won't be, but they will just say that. We're not that far away from this administration saying inflation is 0, unemployment is 0, and the price of vegetables and fruit and food has gone back to what it was in 1969. I don't think we're that far. By the way, I would also predict that we're going to see a golf card score from the White House showing that the current occupant shot an 18 at Augusta. Because when facts don't really matter, if you can make up any data point to make yourself look good, why hold back? What's the incentive to hold back? If you can get away with it, I mean, that does seem to be the mantra. Okay, so what's the real message here for you and me? Part of it is be careful of what you're asking for. You might get it. If you really want all the foreigners kicked out of the country, you might get it if you keep voting that way. But be aware of the consequences. It's very, very easy to say, I don't like immigrants in the abstract, but that person you buy fruit from the fruit stand, the local market, the person who takes care of your children, the person who may wash your car, turns out a lot of Americans like those people. You know who they like even more than those people? The 6-year-old sons and daughters of those people who are cute, born here, friendly, nice, and all of a sudden they're being deported, their entire life traumatized, ruined, emotionally, psychologically scarred, happening every day. And a lot of people seem to be perfectly fine with that. We'll see if they're fine when they have to start reaching in their pocketbook more to pay, $14 for a burger with fries because the fries just went up by $9. We'll keep you updated on that. Let's move on to issue. Vice President no choice but to sue American political influencer Candace Owens after she promoted a conspiracy theory claiming his wife, Brigitte, was born a man. According to the Times, Macron acknowledged the risk of drawing more attention to the smear, but said it had gained so much traction in the United States that he had to act. We're talking about the identity of the First Lady of France, of a wife, mother, and grandmother. It's a matter of defending my honor, Macron said. Owens, who has more than 4 million YouTube followers, mocked the lawsuit as goofy and a public relations stunt. But the Macron's 22-count suit filed in Delaware seeks punitive damages and a jury trial. Macron also criticized the Trump administration's free speech rhetoric, noting that it excluded mainstream outlets from White House events while elevating right-wing influencers like Owens. Okay, what's the real message here with Macron suing Candace Owens? I like Macron, but I think he's making a huge mistake. Nobody but a complete imbecile puts any faith in what Candace Owens says. Macron is creating the perfect PR blunder by putting a spotlight on idiocy and having 1,000 times more people hear about this issue than would have otherwise heard about this nonsense of the First Lady being a man. Let's dig a little deeper here. I'm certainly sympathetic to the Macron family. It can't be fun knowing that millions of people are hearing a message that you are not the gender you were that you say you are. So I'm sympathetic to this, and I'm happy to see Macron admit that he realizes there is the danger of this being something like the Streisand effect. And I believe that's referring to the time of Barbara Streisand. I believe she was having a wedding, heard paparazzi were coming, and she put out all these notices and bans, and it just brought out 10,000 more people who otherwise would have never heard about it. That is the danger. If you are a well-known celebrity, you've always got to pick and choose. If you sued every single person who said something unpleasant about you or untrue, you'd never get anything done. And that applies not just to heads of state, but to little influencers. I mean, I get people saying unfactual things about me. I don't take the time to sue them. So it's a fine line. In my mind, based on what I know of this issue, this doesn't cross it. I would ask the Macrons to really think about how many people do they actually respect who are now thinking that Brigitte Macron was born a man. I have a hard time imagining that that's more than about 5 people. Yeah, there is the danger sometimes of falsehoods get out there, they get repeated often enough, they get enough amplification. There's no rebuttal, and people think, well, they didn't rebut it. It must be true. Now, the Macrons have rebutted this, but this Candace Owens, and I've never seen her work, I hope not to. She seems like a real piece of work where she relishes in just needling. I mean, she's the classic modern conservative troll. Facts don't matter. Truth doesn't matter. If you can take something, poke, prod, anything to irritate somebody who appears to be a centrist, moderate, left of center political figure or cultural figure, anything you can do to anger them, it's a win. That appears to be her attitude. If there are any Candace Owens fans out there who feel like I've really gotten it wrong, then go ahead. Feel free to correct me. You can post your comments right here. I do read all comments. But that appears to be the working operating principle, not only of Owens, but basically all the right-wingers out there. The few honest conservatives are in the never Trumper camp, and it's very hard for them to gain enough audience. Although the folks at Bulwark, and there are a few places that do. But by and large, the easiest way to make money today in the online space is to just make up wild, crazy accusations about anyone in public life who is not a MAGA right-wing conservative. That's the easiest way to make money because you'll outrage people. All the people on your team will say, oh, yeah, that's right. And they'll click it and they'll share it and they'll like it and they'll add comments. Way to go. You own the libs. That's the easiest way to make money. And truth, fact checking, it's not that that's a low priority. That's on the do not do list if you want to make money as a conservative pundit, a conservative podcaster, commentator. And Candace Owens seems to know that. So look, would I love it for Emmanuel Macron to win this case, bankrupt her, put her out of business, force her to go back to doing something honest? Maybe she could be forced to do community service as a fact checker at a library, if she knows what a library is or if she could find one. I don't know, but I'm doubtful. I mean, I've seen a serial liar like Alex Jones lose lawsuit after lawsuit. Seems like he's bigger than ever. There's always some right-wing billionaire to bail him out. There's always some bankruptcy court that you can twist this and put assets there or come up with a new name. You always recreate yourself. And it seems like you can never quite stamp out this infestation of lying. So I'm doubtful that this is really going to work when it comes to shutting up Candace Owens. And the result, unfortunately, is now here I'm talking about, and I'm trying to debunk it, but here I am talking about Brigitte Macron, the allegations of her being a man. The other question I have for Macron is, all right, if this is going to go to a lawsuit, do you really want to have to go from France to the United States for a court? Are there going to be depositions? Is the first lady going to have to take a DNA test? It just seems to get messier and messier and messier. And sometimes the best thing to do is to just ignore the nonsense. And certainly, I think any fair-minded observer could easily conclude not just this story, but pretty much anything out of Candace Owens' mouth is complete, utter nonsense. More in a moment. We'll be right back after this break. Want to advertise here? You better be legit. No crypto, no junk food, no supplements. Go to tjwalker.com/advertise. Most people can't afford a full-time coach. And even if you could, good luck finding one who's available when you need them. That's why I created the TJ Walker AI clone. It's built on my 40-plus years of real-world coaching and training. You get my exact advice, style, and frameworks instantly. Ask it how to handle a tough question, get feedback on your elevator pitch, rehearse your next big talk. This is the next generation of communication coaching. It's smarter than an app, more personal than a course, and always ready. Start using it today at tjwalker.ai. You'll wonder how you ever did without it. Want to advertise to ambitious upscale professionals who actually care about communication, success, and results? Go to tjwalker.com/advertise. And no, we don't take ads for crypto, supplements, or junk food. If you've ever struggled with nerves, unclear messaging, or just not being taken seriously, this is for you. I created the TJ Walker Success Library as a crash course in professional level communication. You get 5 downloadable books for just $9.95 that walk you through public speaking, media training, persuasive communication, confidence building, and daily practice routines. This is the same training I've delivered to presidents, CEOs, and leaders in 45 nations, boiled down and instantly accessible. Go to tjwalker.com/books and download them now. Welcome back. Donald Trump is once again in the spotlight for his words about military service. Speaking this week on conservative host Mark Levin's show, Trump praised Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who faces an international criminal court warrant for alleged war crimes. He praised him as a good man. He then added, "He's a war hero. I guess I am too." Trump claimed his status came from ordering U.S. airstrikes against 3 Iranian nuclear facilities in June. "Nobody cares, but I am too. I sent those planes," he said, complaining he doesn't get enough credit. The comment strikes a nerve because Trump never served. He received 5 Vietnam draft deferments, including one for bone spurs that the New York Times reported may have been a favor to his father. Former Congressman Adam Kinzinger, an Air Force veteran, called the claim nuts and an offense to anybody who served. This comes on top of a long record of disparaging service members, from mocking John McCain as not a hero to reportedly calling fallen soldiers suckers and losers. Yet here's the contrast. When Democrats make a gaffe, Hillary Clinton's deplorables remark or Barack Obama's line about people clinging to guns and religion, the right-wing echo chamber amplifies it again and again and again until it becomes a pop culture shorthand. Trump makes his far harsher comments, yet his supporters and media allies either defend him or move on. Okay, what's the real message here? Trump says, I guess I'm a war hero. It's obviously insane. And he gets away with it because there's no left-wing echo chamber to pound away at that for years. If Barack Obama said that just because he killed military leaders who are enemies and was engaged in wars, if Clinton said that, they would be pilloried. They would be attacked every single day on Fox, Newsmax, every conservative podcast as sliming the military, of being unpatriotic and unfit for office. And yet Trump gets away with it because there is no left-wing media echo chamber. Let's dig a little deeper. This really sticks in my craw. I got to be honest with you, because it perverts so much of what goes on in our culture. And, let me just address this. Life isn't fair. I don't want to sound like a big baby. But Donald Trump says more things incredibly obnoxious, inflammatory, offensive to mainstream American values in a 3-hour period before breakfast on a typical day than Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, or Joe Biden said in an 8-year span. And yet constantly Americans are peddled this idea that Democrats have crazy values. I'm not saying every value a Democrat has is perfect or ideal, but this idea that Hillary Clinton is like the worst person in the world because she implies that some of the people who voted for Trump were deplorable, the idea that that's crazy, that that's disqualifying, and yet Trump can call himself a war hero when he was a draft dodger by all accounts, by most legitimate biographical studies of his life. He just made it. He got a doctor to fudge a note. He got a note from the doctor because his daddy asked for it so he could avoid the Vietnam War. He's since committed atrocities like saying that John McCain wasn't a hero because he doesn't like people who got caught. Things that, again, would have completely destroyed any other political career, especially if a Democrat would have said it. A Democrat said that, they'd say, see, here's a sign of how weak Democrats are, how much they hate the military, how much contempt they have. And I'm telling you, if Gavin Newsom or any prominent Democrat now were to utter the line of, maybe I'm a war hero, and they hadn't literally served in war on the front lines, that would be the only thing anyone in conservative media would talk about day after day after day for the next 6 months. And after about 2 weeks, that would get a front page story on the New York Times of, concerns that Democrats are out of the mainstream and culturally adrift because their leaders are showing contempt for the military and claiming to be war heroes. And then the next day you'd have Bill Maher on Real Time with Bill Maher on HBO doing another segment of, see, these wacky Democrats are crazy, and that's why Trump deserves to keep getting elected and supported. And it would go on and on and on and on and on. And because of that, real issues can't be talked about. Because of that, we don't have any real conversation about the impact of the big, beautiful bill and what happened to USAID with hundreds of thousands of people dying now, with lots of conservative Americans who have kids who need Medicaid, aren't getting it, are going to die prematurely. That can't be talked about because we have to talk about nonsense. And if you care about this country, if you care about rational discourse, if you care about democracy, there has to be a system whereby both parties or any party can be held accountable. Mistakes can be talked about, victories can be talked about, policy ideas can be talked about. It's not happening in the United States, and it hasn't happened for quite some time because one side has weaponized this ability to pull something out of thin air and spin it into this massive pile of BS to deflect any other conversation from taking place. And it gives cover to them to have extremist candidates who can say and do wild, crazy things all the time and get away with it. And that is self-defeating if you want a democracy. It just isn't going to work much longer. So I urge you, the next time you hear about some quote, this Democrat said that Sydney Sweeney ad is a Nazi and racist, ask yourself, who said it? Was that Kamala Harris? Was it Joe Biden? Was it Obama? No, none of them said that. Or was it elevating something from an obscure person, defining the whole party, that meanwhile, the most powerful person in the world can say outrageous, extreme, idiotic, unpatriotic things. And because he says so many of them every day, it just passes. It just disappears. And nobody even thinks about it. Well, I'm thinking about it. I hope you're thinking about it. I'm TJ Walker. This is Filtered, where we look at the top business, technology, and culture stories of the day, filtered through the lens of communication and personal development skills, all with the goal of making you more successful. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you tomorrow.